all you're cracked up to be. But that's another conversation.
Yeah,
that's a whole other conversation.
So Raila Odinga was the candidate, one of the 3 candidates for the post of AU Commission Chairman in Addis Ababa.
Yes.
And he managed 7 rounds. Until now, the winner was declared in the 8th.
It was in 6 rounds? Why are you laughing at me?
Pull out at the 6th. Yeah.
I know why.
Your math.
He's looking at my mathematics.
So the big thing here is that the result, there are very many people who are in this country who are sure and confident, and those especially in his campaign team, and President William Ruto as well, sure, confident that they've done the best that they could to put forth a candidate and put forth a strong campaign for Kenya's candidates. And it goes into round 1 where he has more votes than everybody else. And then the Madagascar candidate drops out as is required. And then those votes seem to have moved into Djibouti and not coming to Kenya. And then you start looking at that and wondering, so what exactly went wrong? What happened? What does that mean for Kenya as a country? What does that mean for Kenya's foreign policy? Someone like Don Sabo was saying, we need to fix our foreign policy ASAP because of what this is showing. What does that mean when you look at the kind of commentary that you saw on X, on social media on Saturday? Mixed reaction. Very many people coming to say, yes, yes. Others saying, ay, man, it wasn't so good, and so on and so forth. But let's first set the stage by looking at the 2 important people in that conversation on Saturday. This is Raila Odinga himself and President William Ruto. They had already prepared a room where they were going to celebrate. After he wins, they were going to be into this room with very many Kenyans and friends, and they were going to celebrate. And they went there now to say, okay, we are not come to celebrate, but we live on. The first one, let's watch Raila Odinga himself.
Tukishindwa tutashinda. Tumeshinda. Tumeshinda. And therefore I will not regret it. I will walk with my head tall. President Ruto did everything possible. For this campaign, they gave me all the logistical support that we needed. That enabled me to travel around the length and the breadth of the continent.
Yeah, so he got a lot of support from the government of Kenya, and President William Ruto took it, upon himself to even secure meetings with other leaders across Africa. Go in there, go in here, dedicating a budget. You have the budget, wake up, go. Before we even get into looking at now the reactions, let's hear President William Ruto, who also spoke at that Thanksgiving dinner.
And I have a regret for Africa that they missed an opportunity to be served by the finest.
Africa lost an opportunity to be served by the finest. He also said he was really, really proud of his brother, Raila, because his brother, Raila, was very energetic in this campaign. Whenever the president would secure, an appointment for him, he'd tell Baba, Baba, kimbia West Africa. Baba would be like, Sazawa, ndege, gone.
Right.
And he says, you did the best that you could.
You did everything
in your power.
In your power, except read the room.
Woo.
So,
hey.
Ebu read the room for us, Janet.
You did. The room was clear from early on. That's not discounting to your point that the appointments were made. Go see him, go shake hands. That's one vote in the basket. You didn't read your homeroom well enough. And I think this is going to serve as a testament that you can no longer discredit what is happening on the ground. You can try and, you can sprinkle it. You can, fly jets above it. You can wear suits against it. You can do whatever you want to do. But when there is a shaking tree and the shaking of a tree, you can't really, first of all, you shouldn't afford to, but you also can't afford to. What is the room? The room is something that we've stated many times, right? So on the Pan-African level, I do believe that they were listening and watching and seeing when people spoke out last year. They were not blind to it. And it's been incessant, by the way. It has been non-stop from June 25th. Non-stop.
Right.
It hasn't really wavered. Sometimes it dips, but it doesn't dip because it maybe dips because there's something else massive happening.
Right.
But the
Not
room
because
was
people have
clear.
forgotten.
We feel that he could have stood with us at a time when we thought that we could shift this country into the leadership we believe that we need. We thought that we would be able to get somebody who could, for once, just really show us that, you know what, we can move with young people and really move with them towards the ballot and towards really trying to reset this continent. Then you pulled a fast one.
Right.
And so you didn't read the room. But they had read the room a long time ago. So yes, even though in the first round there were certain people who voted, did they want to risk somebody who, in a sense, isn't quite understanding national politics or kind of dismissing it? Mm-hmm. That's a risk. Also, I do think that our leaders have delusions of grandeur. They do. In your mind, you are mega. And I think the number one thing to understand and recognize is that nobody is. So this is not to throw shade and say, we can say we're mega. Nobody is. Nobody's more important than the people that you're meant to serve. We here on this platform, we are working with the citizens. We're working with people to try and make sure that we're communicating issues that people can take home. We're not here sitting saying, I have a platform, therefore I'm bigger than you. Right. Delusions of grandeur will always finish you. Pride always will. Now, it doesn't mean that this is the end for Raila Odinga. I think he is respected by many people. He has a history. Yes, he's lost several elections, but it doesn't mean he's completely, a lot of people are like, is this time for retirement? Right. Should he perhaps consider? I don't know that that's the conversation. He's the only one who can figure that out. What we need to do when it comes to things like foreign policy, when it comes to things like our stand on the continent, we're just no longer the big boys. I don't know that we've ever actually had a solid foreign policy, but I do think we have to clean house. You know this thing of trying to, your house is dirty, but you go to your neighbors to have tea because it's cleaner. You can't do that. You have to clean your house, you have to sweep it, you have to sanitize it, but we're not doing that. We're leaving a dirty house to go next door to say, Nisaidia na chai, my cups are all in the sink. I can't use them anymore. Yeah. So we didn't read the room, and we continue to not read the room. And eventually, I don't know what happens eventually.
I have a good
I've said many
idea,
things.
I hope.
Sijui kama nimejibu swali.
No.
Drop the mic.
Okay.
What?
No, but ni ukweli.
Sasa ngoja
She's so passionate. No, I agree, honestly. One, the delusions of grandeur. There's one thing. So I was worried initially about us, because people celebrated the loss, and we'll talk about that a bit later, but us confusing correlation not being causation, right? So we may think that it's because of what happened here that Baba lost, but really maybe it was never in the bag for him. Maybe it was always just a strict game of numbers and he just never had the numbers. Until now, you see the Madagascar candidate drop out of the race, and you see these SADC votes go to Djibouti. Then now you have to the Djibouti candidate, Mahmoud Ali Yusuf. Then now you have to ask yourself, what was the swinging factor, right? Why did the South and that region decide to vote for Djibouti as opposed to Kenya? Because that's really what it is at the end of the day. And then you're right. It's probably because our international relations have not been at their best. We have consistently chosen, I don't want to call it the wrong side, but to some extent for the continent, it is the wrong side. Whether it's about our stand on the genocide in Gaza, not calling it a genocide, abstaining from votes, or voting with the wrong side, honestly. Whether it's President Ruto deciding to call Macron and have a conversation with him without having a conversation with the president of the DRC, or one that was not privy to the public, you know? So that's, again, an issue of perception. So you're right, did not read the room. And the fact that he was being fronted by the administration of the day certainly did not help him. And this was the same exact issue in 2022. You were being fronted by an administration that people were tired, sick and tired of, right? But still, you decided these are my people, and you felt secure in that. Same way he went with 100 people, felt secure in that. And it's like, no, nobody likes these people that are fronting you. Nobody is with them. Nobody's with their politics. No one is with their ideas.
You know, there are very many things that are coming up, and even in the conversations throughout last week into the election day itself on Saturday, into Saturday evening and Sunday, and even now, if you look online, there are very many reactions, and they are mixed all over. We're mixing very many things. So first, like Mariam, you're saying, this could be just the numbers play because of the geopolitics, you know, French, Francophone speaking countries, the Anglophone speaking countries, the Lusophone countries, the Arabic countries, the Muslim countries, the Christian, all those, plus the regional blocks. It could be that. And Janet, you also bring in that, but also those people are seeing what's happening in Kenya. And it could be playing a role in this year. And not to discount any of them, but those are very many factors that could go into play. And I'm not sure we can say that, you know, Djibouti has the very best clean record in terms of, you know, governance in Africa, that therefore people could say, you know what, Djibouti stands as a big console, therefore let's be led by Djibouti. I'm not really sure, you know, that would come into play. It's just the tribal politics of Africa. We are tribal as a continent. We look at ourselves, you know, from various corners. Us guys from the south, us guys from the east, you know, us guys who speak English, these guys who speak French, you know, and so on and so forth. And there are very, very many things at play and all that. So we want to hear your views on this. What exactly do you think? Because even Raila said very many other factors actually came into play on the day of the voting. And we had also been warned of this. Muhisa Kitui had told us here when he was here last week. And he mentioned, you know what, there are very many factors that go into play. When we spoke to Ambassador Macharia Kamau, the former PS for Foreign Affairs, who was also involved in the campaign for Amina Mohammed twice at the AU and at the WTO, said politics of diplomacy is a whole different ballgame. You've got to know what is happening around the world, and you've got to know how to play in that way and sway. And we remember we asked him, do you think that we've picked our lessons from those two failed attempts? And he was saying, I certainly hope that we have. It shows that maybe we still have some way to go on this. We're going to take a break, but as we take that break, we want to see what people are saying, because they are saying things. There
is so much feedback. I'll start with some on YouTube, and then you, Eric or Mariam, can come in as well. But I know Sami Kambo is starting with, I did ask, how sure are we that Ruto himself voted for Raila? It was a secret ballot. Okay, that's something. Somebody else here said Raila might be the most qualified candidate, but the intentions of the people supporting his candidacy might not be genuine. I'm just curious to know how much taxpayers' money was spent on the whole AUC thing.
Tutajua too. That's a great question. How much taxpayer money was spent there? And to the same question, of course, what should Raila's next move be? Something that's also being discussed in the comment sections. Someone said, David Mangara said, Kenyan politicians went for a team building to Addis, Walichoma Manze. Honestly, 100 people. Doing what? Because we agreed here that you're not going to go sway a president's decision. There's no lobbying you're going to do there. Now,
Mariam, if you wanted to pay for your ticket to go because you really support Baba, what's wrong with that?
Did they pay for their tickets to go? There's nothing wrong. If you support Baba, by the way, by all means. But did they go on their own dime, or was it taxpayer money? That's where the question of how much was spent on this campaign.
See, the distrust that citizens have with their government.
We do.
Yeah, well, you see, a government official has boarded a plane, you know, we just don't trust. Very many comments, but let's take a break. When you come back, we'll start again with some of your comments. We want to see to hear and see your views on this. What do you make of the events in Addis Ababa on Saturday, and what should happen going forward? What are the options for Raila himself, for President Ruto domestically in politics, and what are the options for Kenya? This is a second election in a row that we've presented a candidate and we've lost at the AU. What does that tell us about ourselves? Time for that break. We'll be back shortly.